Hey everyone, and welcome back to Pep's podcast. My name is Key.
And my name is Tori.
And today we are going to be talking about body shaming, body positivity, and everything that has to do with our bodies. So we all have different definitions of beauty, and there are certain things that we love about ourselves, and there are others that we're not fond of. In our society, there are certain standards to how we should look. So for example, girls, we've been struggling with body size and shape our entire lives. Because we're worried about, whether we're too skinny or we're bigger, if we're considered curvy or if we're considered ruler shaped. And there are just so many boxes that we have to fit into. And unfortunately, sometimes we become stuck in these boxes and we start thinking about why we're too skinny or why we're too big. And then, growing up and in middle school and stuff, a lot of times there are bullies who kind of talk about our body sizes. And these things that have been said 10, 20 years ago can still affect us, in our early 20s, 30s, and beyond. So we want to talk about some of the things that we've heard, and I'll start by talking about an experience that I had one day in the city. So I'm on the thinner side, and one day I was walking to pick up some lunch, and a man was trying to talk to me, but I wasn't paying him any attention. I sort of had my headphones in, and as I was walking past, he made a comment and said that I was really skinny and that I was like a kite that could fly away. And even though it was a simple comment, it's something that can affect young girls who aren't confident about the way that they look. And I think it's pretty hurtful, the things that people say, and that you feel like you can never please everybody. Like, everybody will always have something to say.
Yeah, like, similar with you, I've also had, experiences. For our listeners, I'm about 5'2", so I'm pretty short, and I'm also pretty curvy. So I've definitely heard, the fat jokes or whatever. When I was in high school, I was called a cow sometimes because of kind of where I grew up. I was also called, thunder thighs, and I don't know. There was, this guy in my high school that made up this, stupid song, and it was something about, thunder thighs and, eating more McDonald's fries. I don't know what it was, but it was, ridiculous. And, as a high schooler, that really did affect me.
Right.
Because I was just kind of starting to figure out, who I wanted to be. And I was pretty self-conscious about, what I looked like. Especially in high school. That's
Definitely.
A huge transition in itself, So, me and Key have definitely experienced our fair share of...
just comments.
Yeah, body comments.
And we know that there are females out there who have experienced the same and or similar situations, and for some of us this can lead to eating disorders,
right,
which is very unfortunate.
Right, it can spiral into a really serious eating disorder.
Yes.
And lots of girls actually struggle with this, more girls than I think you think. And we're not even talking about just anorexia or just bulimia. You can have other eating disorders binging, right? Just kind of the whole spectrum of eating disorders is something that even growing up we can develop, especially with these comments and being shamed for how we look.
Yes, definitely. Another issue that girls kind of have to deal with is height, right? So as Tori mentioned, she's 5'2" and I'm 5'6" and a half. And
and a half.
and I feel like when you're scrolling on Instagram or what have you, you're constantly passing through different memes that talk about women's height, and if you're under 5'2", you're considered a small demon, and if you're over 6 feet, you're considered a basketball player or NBA player. But it's not said in a pleasing way. It's said to make fun of the different heights that there are, and it can really take a toll on young girls because they're constantly seeing that they're not enough, or that they're too much because of their height, because of their size. And some of these things are things that they cannot control.
Right, like whether you're small or you're tall, or I guess short or tall, like there's not like a perfect height. I feel like you're going to always be criticized for your height no matter what you are.
So that's something that's very important that we thought we should mention, because we want everybody to understand that you may be seeing these things all over the place and you may be worried about how you look or how you appear to others, but these aren't things that you can control, so you should try not to let it bother you.
Okay, so another issue that girls face is shaving, whether they shave different parts of their body. A lot of people are criticized for shaving their pubic hair or not shaving their pubic hair, shaving their armpits or not shaving their armpits, and the same goes for their legs. So when we grow up, we're basically taught the norm, which is that we kind of need to be shaved and smooth, and it's almost
a necessity that females are clean shaven at all times.
Right.
And in fact, the choice is yours. Whether you would like to keep your body shaved or not, you should be able to do as you please. And if there's someone who's bothering you about you shaving or whatever the case may be, you should be able to tell them, that this is your body and you can make the choice of shaving or not. Another thing that girls have to deal with is the issue of makeup, right? So it's, should I wear makeup? Should I wear this? Should I put this on? Or, do I need to start wearing makeup every day? And there are other people who do wear makeup and they feel bad because there are people who tell them that they shouldn't wear makeup every day or that they may break out, etc. And the bottom line is, you should decide if you want to wear makeup or not, how much you want to wear, and you shouldn't let anyone else tell you otherwise, because at the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, you want to be happy with what you see.
Right. So, like, I hear a lot that the girls who wear makeup are called, like, cake face.
Right.
Right? And especially coming from males, I hear this often. But at the end of the day, like, if you know you're not a cake face, okay, and you look in the mirror, just like you were saying, and you see beauty, that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Definitely.
Like, other people's opinions don't have to affect how you feel.
Yes.
Only you can affect how you feel inside.
Definitely. Another big issue that girls have to face is when they become mothers, they have this post-pregnancy body.
Right.
And that may be very stressful for them.
Yeah, so lots of mothers are struggling with this idea that they have to go back to their pre-baby body right away. It's called, like, the bounce back. So, like, are you going to bounce back to what you looked like before you had the baby? They're struggling with the extra skin from stretching so much to give birth to your baby. Your boobs getting bigger because you have to supply breast milk for your baby. Stretch marks. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other different things that mothers have to deal with, especially after giving birth.
Right. And we want to let you new mothers know, or, those who have had children in the past, that whether you bounce back to your previous body or not, you still are beautiful and you have given birth to a human being, and that in itself is very powerful.
It's amazing. Like, the female body can do amazing things.
Yes.
And the fact that we're not focusing on what amazing things, like, we have just done with our body, like, we made a human.
Yes.
We're more worried about how we're going to look, or
Right.
how we do look right after we give birth.
Right. Or how others are going to perceive how we look.
Right.
After we give birth.
And them not understanding that it's the norm not to look how you once looked.
Definitely. So we discussed the ways that girls may have to deal with body shaming and the different things that they have to hear. But now we kind of want to switch gears and talk about body shaming for boys.
Yeah, I feel like talking about boys and boy body shaming is totally different, and it's something that a lot of people don't ever talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like girls, it's more apt that you hear about girl body shaming, but honestly, I hardly ever hear about boy body shaming.
Yes, and it's very much present.
Okay, so yeah, like girls, boys also struggle with their body shape. And a lot of it has to do with whether they're bigger or skinnier, or the most popular one I hear is like whether they're muscular or not.
Right. It's sort of a big issue because all of these different body sizes and whether they have muscles or not is such a big thing that a lot of young men are exercising excessively or drinking a lot of protein drinks, and they're not doing practical things to take care of their body, and instead they're relying on these different supplements that they can use in order to become who they want to be body-wise.
Right. So me and Key, as we were preparing for this podcast, we did a little bit of research, and we found a source that was talking about boy body shaming, and they did a few surveys and they wrote up their results, and this is what they had to say. So they say, boys who are heavier are often bullied, and a good number of them will develop anxiety, shame, and depression related to this, which honestly is
similar to girls.
Yeah.
And I mean, in a lot of ways. And unfortunately, a lot of people who develop anxiety or shame or depression from their body, they don't feel like they have an outlet or someone to talk to. But I feel like that's especially true for boys because they're supposed to be manly or man up or they're supposed to kind of set their feelings aside and not really bring it to the forefront, which can cause a lot of internal stress, anxiety, and depression within themselves that they can never express to the world.
Right. So, like with this anxiety or depression, it can lead to food restriction, compulsive exercise, as we mentioned, substance abuse, so like steroids, or, you know, how you were talking about like the protein shakes, even though that's technically not like a bad substance, I mean, you could still excessively be using that.
Exactly.
Self-harming, which is another thing that I don't hear about boys a lot, is like their self-harm. And it's actually true. I mean, just from working like in this field, I feel like we've seen a lot of self-harm, especially with boys.
Yes.
I mean, it's very common with girls, but I think that was something that shocked me, was that there was self-harm among boys too. And then you could also become a bully in return. So this research team suggests that being bullied about weight predicts issues like weight gain, binge eating, and extreme weight control measures. And then they list a bunch of percentages. So 29% of teenage boys reported that they were trying to lose weight. 28 of them were on diets, which I think is a huge number.
That is a huge number.
Yeah. And 51% say they exercise to prevent weight gain. So this is all the statistics according to the National Center on Addiction and Substance Use.
Yes. So I think it is very important to speak to our young men and ask them questions about whether they feel comfortable in their body, because it may be something that they're not thinking about or that they want to discuss but they're afraid to.
Yeah, because it's almost like they're supposed to be insensitive to everything.
Right.
Where that's not the case. Like, they need as much support as
females.
As girls do, yeah.
Definitely. Another issue that boys have is shaving. So shaving your body is seen as feminine, you know, in our society especially. And a lot of people feel like men should keep their underarm hair or their chest hairs. And honestly, that's up to whoever.
Yeah.
Whoever the person is should decide whether they want to shave and know that it's okay if they do.
Yeah. I know lots of men struggle with, yes, shaving their chest hair, but also like if you have those muscles or, whatever, like waxing your chest hair so it's like nice and smooth and,
right.
Like beach body ready, right? Which that can also be a huge and toxic thing that boys have to deal with.
Yes, for sure. And another issue is sports and whether they should shave for the sport that they have to take.
Yeah.
And, how they kind of have to fit their body to fit into whatever sport that they're going to be playing.
Right. I know that for swimming, like, that requires you to be hairless. Mm-hmm. So guys have to, or girls even have to shave to participate in swim.
Yes.
Another issue is, for boys, is how you look down there. Mm-hmm. So how your private area looks. The size, the shape, the color, whether you have hair, whether you shave it.
All of those are your choice. And I think it's important that you don't say, I'm a man, so I should. Mm-hmm. X, Y, and Z. Because it doesn't really affect or should not affect the way that you want to keep your body. Another issue that males have to deal with is facial hair. There's a big topic on whether males should, keep how they should keep their beard, and the fact that their beard doesn't connect, or it's not thick enough, or it's too thin or too thick, whatever the case may be. And it's something that men deal with, and it's hard, but if you feel comfortable with the way that your facial hair looks, you shouldn't let society dictate how you should have it shaved.
Yeah, going along with facial hair. Even with working with kids, I've heard a lot like, oh, your hairline is crooked, especially targeted to boys. I think this is something that boys really feel insecure about.
Yes, for sure.
Just like girls, height is also something that boys have to deal with. So I think this might be like the number one thing that they have to deal with, maybe. Just because
it's the first thing that girls see.
Yeah.
When they look at a boy, it's okay, he's tall, or okay, he's short. And these different kind of criteria that women have for men, which is, that they should be taller than them, or they should be at least 3 inches taller than they are, so that when they wear heels, they're, the same height, whatever the case is. And men get insecure, boys get insecure about their height because it's something that they cannot change. Mm-hmm. And I think that females should be willing to accept males for whatever height that they may be. And males, if you feel, sad or upset about your height because you can't find a female that thinks, your height is good enough for them, then just realize that one day it will happen.
Yeah. And
you shouldn't let yourself get stuck with bothering with your height if that's something that you cannot fix.
Yeah.
Or change.
Okay. Shifting gears. So we talked about girls and we talked about boys, but also transgender people also are body shamed.
Yes.
And this is kind of a population that we don't ever discuss, which needs to be discussed.
Yes, for sure. And there have been many studies that have shown that transgender women may feel unhappy with their results once they make that change from male to female. Now, some reasons for this may include the fact that they didn't think that their boob job would come out the way that they did, or they're just kind of having to deal with this new void in their life as they are kind of switching from a male to a female.
Yeah, in itself, transgender people are just totally body shamed for their choices.
Yes, and it's unfortunate that in society this is the way that it is, but just know that if you're happy with your choice, that is all that matters.
Yeah, like however you feel you are, express it that way. So if you feel like a woman, express your womanhood however you see fit. And if you're a man, express your manhood however you see fit as well. Don't let people tell you what you should or shouldn't do, especially if you are like in a new body or exploring different choices. Know that that choice is yours and it's only yours, and none of the opinions and the little chit chat really matters at the end of the day.
Yes. Another population that is body shamed very heavily is those who have some sort of disability, and they may feel that because they have scars from surgery, or they may be losing their hair or weight due to some sort of illness such as cancer. They may be feeling sort of down from all the stress and the change.
Yeah.
And this is not something that they should be ashamed of. And emotionally, all the different illnesses and the scars from surgery may be putting a toll on you as a person, but do not let what you're going through define you.
Yeah. I feel like people with disabilities also feel very ashamed through our current market, whether that's fashion or fitness advertisements. I see a lot of companies aren't very inclusive with their products, clothes, shoes, fitness routines, exercises, stuff like that. And that's kind of also reinforces like that shame that they might feel, especially about their body and about their abilities, and kind of reinforcing that ableism is the norm and that they're different.
For sure. I also would like to add a comment that I hear quite often coming from those who have a disability is the fact that they are too something to be disabled. For example, you're too pretty to be in a wheelchair. And although that may be meant as a compliment, it is very demeaning for someone, because you're saying that their wheelchair is taking away from their beauty, when in fact it can add to their beauty, and it is something that they have to deal with. So adding the fact that they are too pretty or too this to be in a wheelchair, to have this disability, it is not helping. It's not sweet, nor is it appropriate, to be honest.
So I wonder where we feel the most body shamed.
Well,
I wonder.
Like to know, I really think that social media really plays such an intricate part in body shaming and just feeling that you're not enough.
Or even kind of media in general, because social media is one thing, but also media, like growing up we had a lot of magazines, or even like on TV, so like TV shows and stuff like that. So everything together, even social media and like this current media, whether it's written and published or it's kind of electronic, so it's a TV show or a movie, it kind of all enhances this like further body shame that we feel. It almost drives it.
It does.
Yeah.
Because we're seeing people who are quote unquote perfect, and we sort of compare the way we look to those people who we define as beautiful, and we realize that we don't have this, or we're lacking something else, when instead we should be appreciative of the things that we do have.
Yeah.
And we can do, or we are going to do, an entire episode where we talk about social media, but that in of itself is definitely a contributing factor to body shaming. But there are also ways that you can turn social media into a form of body positivity.
Yeah. There's a lot of accounts on there. So let's say we're using Instagram, even searching up like body positivity, I'm sure you'll find a bunch of accounts that are body positive and kind of want to eradicate like the body shaming in general. Maybe we can even post some on our story highlights on Instagram. So if you want to follow us, you can follow us at Peps Podcast. And we'll post some of those on there for you guys. But just following people who lift you up and make you feel good about your body and make you feel good in your own skin. Listening to people like us.
Yes.
To make you feel more empowered. Listening to good music that makes you feel empowered. I know there's a bunch out there that...
Yes.
Yeah. We also have a playlist on our Instagram story highlights that can help with this.
Yes. And everyone is struggling with the perfect image of what they should look like and what they wish they have. But instead, we should be looking at what we do have and what we are happy for. What we are on the outside is a reflection of who we are on the inside. And we should let that inner beauty shine through instead of masking it by talking about all the things that we do not like about ourselves.
Yes, for sure. So just to close, like, us at Peps Podcast want to remind you that you're beautiful no matter whether you're a male or a female, if you're transgender, if you're disabled, if you're tall, short, big, small, whatever you are. We think that you're special. We think that you're beautiful. That's a little message that we want you to know. If you like what you hear, please make sure to share. Also, don't forget to check out our other platforms. You can find us at Peps Podcast. That's PEPS Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And remember to put some pep in your step.